Hey, welcome to the Gory Details Horror Show.
I am your host with the most, Eric Duarte from The Relevant Real, and I am here with my partner in crime, Casey Pletcher.
That's me.
Case,
I'm Casey.
what's happening?
This
Listen,
guy.
I'm equipped today, man. I got the goods. In fact, we have the goods.
We have all the goods.
Yes, we do. Let me
Call
tell
us
you.
Amazon because we're delivering, bitch.
That's right. You know what? This Burger King,
What? Throw
you
my
get it
arms
your
up.
way. Okay.
Okay, anyway.
So, basically, I'm equipped, man. I'm equipped. I'm ready to rock and roll today.
This guy. Yeah, and me too.
I'm ready. I got my, do you want to know why?
I think we've had like 4 cups. Well, I've had like 4 cups of coffee.
I think the 1 cup of coffee that I just had that you gave me
Yeah.
was equivalent to about 6 cups.
It's a strong cup of coffee, right?
Strong.
That's Kicking Horse Kick-Ass coffee that I'm drinking.
Are we throwing a shout out?
We are
sure
actually not sponsored by them.
No, we're not. But
I
we could be.
reach out to them.
But we could be.
Yeah, because they're
So,
good coffee.
yeah.
You want a strong cup of coffee that tastes like fucking coffee?
Yes.
And not like vanilla or whatever? I don't know. I'm not going to give you the notes. It tastes like coffee. But
And damn good coffee. I'll tell you, I'm a tea drinker. I'm a tea guy. I
This
love
guy's
my
a tea
tea. You
guy.
know what I'm saying? I go to a tea house, a tea shop, and you know what I have?
we had that vocal
Tea.
tea the other day.
And that was tight. What do
That
you
was
think?
really good. I
Throat
liked
coat
it.
from
I was hoping you would bring it.
traditional medicinals.
Yeah, that's good. Okay,
Yeah,
so
anyway.
today...
So yes,
On the podcast.
Listen to this, okay? As Casey mentioned, today on the podcast, I'm
didn't
equipped
mention anything.
with. Well, you just mentioned it. You
I
said
was getting
today.
into
You were
it.
getting into it.
Okay.
All right. So today on the podcast, I'm equipped with the following items here. Okay. I got my steak. Okay, sharpened. All right. I got my garlic.
I knew
All
you
right.
were
You're probably
gonna say
asking. I also got this bad accent, but I don't care. You know what I mean? Am I from New York or am I from Boston? Who knows? Who cares? You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm talking here. I got these goods. I got a steak.
East Coast Vampire Killer.
Okay, yeah, vampire killer all the way. Okay. Anyway, so I got my goods. I got my garlic. I got my my steak, right?
Holy
I
water.
ain't talking the meat persuasion, honey. I'm talking the real deal. I got this steak here, this wooden steak, and this thing is so sharp.
All right. Well, anyway. So
I got that. I got my
today's-
holy water.
Today's episode
Yeah.
of the podcast, we're doing a 2-part series for Vampire Month. Anyway, I guess that's our vampire.
Is that our vampire?
I guess.
That was hilarious.
It's kind of the word
I bet-
vampire.
you know,
like
I-
the count we did from the first
1.
episode.
Ooh. You know what I was thinking about?
Vampire Month.
You want to hear something? You want to hear something funny?
What's up?
Listen to this.
Right.
So I was just thinking about this conversation, right? Between like Dracula and like some random dude.
Okay.
This is Dracula right here. All right, I'll play Dracula, and I'll also be the random dude. Okay, so I'm playing 2 parts here.
Oh,
we
okay.
go.
I have no fun there.
All right, so this is Dracula, right? So the random dude's like, hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're good. I'm sorry. Did you say you're good or yogurt? You're good. Okay. All right, listen, I'm having a real hard. First off, huge fan. I love your work. I really do. But I'm not. I don't know what you're saying. Could you maybe elaborate a little more? You're good. You're good. Okay. Stop right there. Enough. Okay. That's it.
You've put way too much thought into this. But
I'm out of here. And scene.
And scene.
And scene.
Oh my
and
God.
Cut.
Please keep listening. We have a show.
We beg of you.
I swear.
We beg of you.
I swear. Anyway, so we're doing 2-part series for Vampire Week. Part 1 is today. We are going to, we're going to get into the show breakdown soon. First of all, I just want to welcome you again. We're going to go through some quick warnings. So, spoilers, obviously.
Yes.
We're going to be covering a metric shit ton of
A slew,
movies.
if you will.
So, if you are aware of the vampire subgenre, then you should be having a good one today. If you are not, then you probably should watch more movies.
But also, to add to that, you're in for a treat, okay? Because like I said, today's show is solid.
Solid. Anyway, so oh man, that was right in the mic.
Wow.
Other warnings may include listening to this show can attract flies, especially around your navel cavity. You may have to learn to become a mouth breather. So expect your mouth to get kind of dry, kind of wet on the inside, and learn how to breathe, I guess, kind of like you're breathing underwater.
Sure. Also, be mindful that listening to our podcast today could cause foaming of the mouth.
Like a rabid dog, right?
Sort of. Sure.
That's my foaming noise.
Is that your rabid dog?
I don't know. No, that's my foaming noise.
Okay. Can I hear that again? Because I didn't.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
It sounds like a
it's going
seashell.
into my. I don't know.
Yeah. Right? Like a seashell. Yeah. I've got a seashell in my ear.
I swear to God,
I've got a
I hear the
seashell.
ocean. I hear the ocean. I can hear
Yes.
the polluting. Anyway,
yes.
Listening to this show may cause you to become tone deaf. If you are a musician, you will not be anymore.
Yikes.
Uh-oh.
That is bad news.
Also, listening to this podcast.
So listening to this podcast, let me tell you, Case, can pretty much subject you to hair growth.
Ooh.
In places where one really normally wouldn't see hair growth.
Never mind.
You know? So, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I thought this was going to be like the Rogaine thing, but...
No, like a plug for Rogaine? Hey, do I smell
plug?
second
Like hair
sponsor?
plugs? Like hair plugs?
Oh,
A
sweet.
plug
Look at me.
for Rogaine?
Pun Central. Hashtag Pun Central.
Okay, anyway. Also, listening to this podcast may cause issues with language recognition.
Oh.
So, not necessarily forgetting words, but not being able to discern between different languages. So, if you someone's speaking to you in German, Spanish, or even English, you just have no idea what fucking language they're talking in.
No Nintendo.
No idea.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, did you say no Nintendo?
That's correct. No Nintendo.
Aren't you Spanish?
No, I'm not Spanish.
You're Mexican.
Correct. I'm Mexican.
So
I am
you
of
think
Mexican
you would know
descent.
how to say entiendo.
You're killing the joke here.
I get the
You're
joke.
killing the joke.
I'm bearing.
You killed my joke. That was my only joke of the day.
I'm killing it with a steak.
Oh, nice save. Nice save.
Okay, so before we get into the podcast, as you guys are probably aware, we're going to get into some quick business. So first of all, we may have picked up our first sponsor. We can't really get into the details just yet, the gory details. But if you out there listening love our show and you would like to be a sponsor, I wanted to let you know that there's two ways to reach out to us.
What's that, Case?
First of all, you can go to the Gory Details Horror Show at gmail.com. The funny thing is we fucked that up twice.
How so?
First one, I think we did gory details at
we left out
gmail.com.
the E.
And then I think the next episode we did the gory details at gmail.com.
Right.
And the actual email was the gory details horror show at gmail.com.
So we had potentially thousands, perhaps millions of people.
There's a lot of people.
By the hundreds.
There's a couple people now that are getting tons of emails and not knowing why.
Ooh.
I don't know. But anyway, so that's the first way. If you want to contact us through the email and discuss directly with how you could sponsor us, that would be wonderful. Also, we recently created our Patreon account. That is Patreon. Patreon.
And for the listeners, for our listeners that don't really know what that is or aren't familiar with it, what is that? What's Patreon?
Well, Patreon is a service in which it's kind of like Kickstarter, except instead of starting something, it's a continuation. So, for instance, if you would like, we can do a $1 donation is available.
Okay.
That is $1 every month. So it's $12 a year, which is, $1 is less than the price of a cup of coffee these days.
True.
If you go to the vending machine, you're going to be paying $2 for a soda.
Tops.
And that's for one
That's
soda.
for a soda.
That's one soda.
I love
and
soda,
I'm not
man.
saying one soda a day for 30 days. I'm
we
saying
talking?
one soda, period, for an entire month.
Wait a second.
Half of the price.
Wait a second. I'm not understanding
that.
this. You're trying to tell me that for the price of one soda,
Less.
less than the price of one soda, I can be a sponsor
Per month.
per month.
Per month.
Hey, I got a question for you.
What's that?
Where do I sign?
Where do you sign?
That's right.
Patreon.com, I think
Excellent.
it should be .com. Anyway, so for $5 Every month, we will send you a custom tweet, which is pretty awesome, and we'll love you.
Yes.
And for the premier sponsorship, $100 a month will give you a 1 minute slot, up to a minute. It's probably going to be a minute at least. A minute slot of advertising for your company, your brand, your social media, whatever you want to use it for, as long as we don't find it terribly offensive, which is pretty hard to do.
Right.
As long as it doesn't interfere with our particular values, we will put you on the show. We will give you a shout to your company.
Happily.
We will definitely help to push whatever product you have. That's $100 a month. That is some of the cheapest advertising you're going to get, honestly.
Yeah.
You're going to get a great reach. At this point, we have 1,500 views on the YouTube.
Wow.
That's
on
a lot.
The YouTube.
On the YouTube with, once again, Australia, Canada, and the UK are leading the dogs here.
Wow. Thank you.
Really good times on those. US is catching up. They're catching up slowly, but they're catching up as far as longevity goes.
It goes without saying, and to add to that,
Yes.
that the listeners should know what you're investing in, all right, as a sponsor is towards something, a product that let's be frank, you deserve, particularly if you're a fan of the horror genre, even if you're not, we're either going to just encourage you to give the genre a shot or simply get you to or present a different perspective is what I'm referring to. So basically, yeah, you're investing in our cause, in our future. This is something that Casey and I both hold dear to our hearts, and I don't really have to say any more about that because the podcasts themselves will speak for it.
Yep. So Patreon. Don't forget we are on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. That way, every time we put up a new video, you are aware. Before anyone else, you can get a listen, share it to your friends. We are also on iTunes. You can subscribe for free.
The majority of the outlets mentioned are all free of charge, correct?
They're all free.
Excellent.
And
so
Stitcher.
That's a major point.
Stitcher. Follow us on Stitcher.
Casey,
Please.
what is Stitcher?
Stitcher is an aggregate for podcasts.
Okay.
Some of my favorite podcasts. I listen to it every day.
So like a mecca, if you will.
Yeah, I listen to Welcome to Night Vale. I listen to Joe Rogan, Duncan Trussell, Fighter
All
and the
solid.
Kid. These guys should sponsor us.
Definitely.
But anyway, so listen to us on Stitcher. Follow us on Stitcher. And please leave us reviews on iTunes, on Stitcher. The more reviews we get, the better exposure we get.
The better quality, too, because I'll tell you, we're relatively green to this. This is literally our third presentation. Case?
I like installment.
I like installment better. That sounds
nice.
Much more
Fancy.
established, much more, it's graceful. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So better product, better quality of product.
I don't know about quality. I think we have pretty good quality.
No, the quality is great. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying here is, we'll be able to graduate towards a much wider platform. Something that's
a larger
a little,
audience.
Absolutely.
And by the way, thanks for all the followers. I believe we are pushing 1,300 followers on Twitter.
What's that? 1,300?
About 1,300.
That's huge. Seriously, thank you.
We are pushing almost 150 Facebook likes,
okay,
which is impressive. It's growing
impressive.
very quickly.
How long have we been around? We've been around for what?
3 weeks,
something like that.
Yeah.
So that's quite the feat, man. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Again, thank you to
everyone it's all because of them
listening. Absolutely.
Yeah. And please share our comments. Like our comments, give them to your friends so they can laugh and have a look. I like to think that we put out some of the greatest content we can possibly put out for our Facebook and our Twitter.
Agreed.
We like to focus more on putting out good content than necessarily spamming you or anything like that. So please make sure you follow us. Really quick, I wanted to throw a shout to our buddies at the Craptacular Review. They are a new video podcast that goes over B movies. So if you're into really shitty movies being talked about by a couple funny guys, this is the thing for you. So like it on Facebook. At _Craptacular is the Twitter handle. Also, a really quick shout out to at Lily the Dark Side on hello, and on the Twitter, and the Dark Side on the Facebook. We really appreciate the support that we are getting from these pages.
It's been huge.
We definitely want you to check them out as well.
Yeah.
We definitely share a lot of the material from those pages because it's good, it's funny, it's dark. If you like us, you're gonna love like the dark side,
and vice versa, definitely.
Yeah. So, okay. So thanks for following. That's gonna wrap up our business section, which I know is your favorite section of the podcast.
Of course, come on. How can't it be?
All right, so this show, Sunday,
one day.
Anyway,
yeah,
it's Saturday.
Oh, that's right.
We're recording on a Saturday morning.
And a gloomy Saturday morning at that.
Gloomy.
Yeah, it's gloomy.
It's beautiful outside.
Well, the sun just came out. I mean, it just decided to get up, lazy bastard. Anyway, so today's genre, look at me. I should say a genre such as the vampire genre deserves or warrants, rather, a gathering of one's thoughts. In fact, the coverage needed to afford an inkling of the genre justice is so vast that I had to graduate to a much larger notepad. Vast is actually putting it lightly. I had yet to realize how grand of my affinity, if you will, was for the vampire genre until you brought up the idea. So with that said, we have an amazing show ahead of us that we're going to go ahead and do in 2 installments. So today's installment is going to involve the genre, but from a more serious light, perhaps even a darker light at that. Next week, we'll be discussing, more, lighter affairs, I should say. Much lighter affairs.
So today is vampires. And next week is vampire.
Anyway. So, basically, what we're going to go ahead and do is kick it off here. And I got to tell you, these notes, when you take a look at this notepad and you saw the notes that I had here.
Nobody can see your notes, Eric.
Right, but if you had to describe my notes to the listeners.
I know. God, he has like 5 pages of notes. I'm a bare bones guy. I like to ad-lib. Eric is prepared.
I'm prepared. I can ad-lib, but I like coming prepared with I guess, an outline. So to speak,
Yeah. So like I put on the slow jams and I go at it. Well, Eric has the Karma Sutra.
Sure.
Yeah. With like different notes.
I got candles.
He's got it.
Aromatherapy.
What's the word?
What's that?
Earmarked. It's earmarked. Dog eared.
I don't believe I've heard that before.
That's when you bend the edge of the page.
Oh, sure.
Sure. It's for people who are too fucking cheap to use a piece of paper for a bookmark.
Oh,
they just want to ruin their book.
That are
instead.
too cheap.
Yeah, I mean,
that wouldn't ruin a notebook though.
No, I'm talking about a book.
An actual book.
Yeah, an actual book.
I'm with
people
you. 100%.
Doggy ear. Like
100%.
I use receipts.
Okay.
Because I'm cheap, but I don't want to ruin my book.
I got you.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So you read your book however you want to read your book.
Read it
audience.
however you want to read it.
Do whatever you want to do. So yeah,
movies. Yes, movies.
And TV shows.
We'll be covering movies, TV shows. We'll also be discussing themes within the genre, and as well introducing certain films that have similar characteristics and traits as one from the vampire genre. You know, so I mean a lot of good stuff here. Definitely.
Okay, so what movie you want to start at?
Well, let's see here. I guess we can start with.
Maybe we'll start with some of our favorites.
Yeah, why don't we do that? So, how about this? I think the last time we kicked it off, you pretty much mentioned some of your favorites there. So, I would love if we started the same way. So, talk a little bit about that, and we can bounce back.
Okay.
Back and forth.
I would like to start with what I think is my favorite movie in the genre.
Let's hear it.
One of my favorite horror films of all time, actually.
Is that so?
Yes. Okay.
Ooh, intrigued.
So that movie is Near Dark.
I
love Near Dark. It's a weird title.
It's actually an appropriate title.
It is.
I'll explain why after yours.
No, it's a very appropriate title.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick anecdote about this. Mm-hmm. So I was years ago, probably almost a decade ago, maybe. Okay. I don't know when they made the list, but there was a Halloween special. I don't know if it was like MTV, VH1, one of those kind of things. But they did like a list of some of the best scenes in horror movies.
History?
No, not history.
For the
I know,
year or something?
I know it was something like VH1.
Okay.
But they did a thing of some of the best scenes in horror movies. And I remember I saw this one about a vampire movie, and I was absolutely enraptured. I loved the scene, and I thought it was so cool. But I, of course, was not forward enough thinking to write it down, the name of the movie.
Okay.
So, I mean, when I finally decided to try to watch it, it was gone. It was out of my head. I knew the scene, but I didn't know the movie. So I knew the scene took place in a bar, and I knew that the bar was kind of in a deserty area.
Okay.
So that's basically what I knew. And if you are a fan of the vampire genre, you know that there's quite a lot of bars and quite a lot of deserty areas.
Mm-hmm.
So that those are kind of tropic, which is ironic considering like they aren't supposed to come out in daylight and they're in like the brightest area that you can possibly be.
You know,
like a desert.
that concept seems very familiar.
It's a little odd. But anyway, so I'm watching these movies over and over, and I'm like getting excited because it looks like it's coming up to that scene, and then it just doesn't happen. And I'm like, shit, this isn't the right movie. And I keep doing this and keep doing this. And finally I start watching a movie, and I recognize the character from the scene. I forgot the actor. He's a pretty famous actor, but he plays the rowdier guy in the bunch, like the really crazy kind of tough guy in the bunch.
What era is this? If you can recall the film. 80s,
it's from the
90s?
80s.
Oh,
It's
80s.
from I think like 86.
86.
It's surprising though because the way it's shot and the way it looks, it's pretty.
I'm thinking.
It's not very 80s. The music is a little 80s, but it's not what you would think is tropic 80s. It's almost like early 90s kind of look.
Early
and
90s.
The characters kind of have almost like the guy I'm talking about in the movie has kind of almost a 50s kind of greaser look to him.
Greaser look.
And
now I'm like, oh man, this is gonna really kill me.
yeah,
Literally.
So, what?
So the actor, what else has he been in? If you can recall.
God, I can't fucking
No?
remember. He's a famous actor though.
Is he?
But anyway,
That'll help me.
Anyway, so I finally see this guy, and I'm like, that's got to be the guy. And then they finally end up at a bar, and I'm like, this is it. This is
The
it.
showdown.
And then he fucking jumps up on the bar,
Okay.
and he uses his back spurs to slit a guy's throat. And I'm like, boom! That's the movie!
Oh,
That's
shit.
what I've been looking for
Yeah.
for fucking years. I
Okay.
spent years trying to find this one scene,
And you
it
found
was
it.
from fucking Near Dark.
Oh.
And I mean, maybe part of it was the nostalgia of finally finding that scene. But overall, I fell in love with this
What a
movie.
segue! Seriously, what a wonderful segue
Yeah.
into the film. That was great.
Thank you.
So actually, one little known fact, not really little known or less known or less likely or what have you, whatever you want to call it, however you want to deem it. But something that a lot of people don't know is the fact that Catherine Bigelow, Academy Award-winning director, Catherine Bigelow of The Hurt Locker, right? She's done Hurt Locker,
Wow,
among
wait.
other affairs.
And this isn't
Zero
at
Dark
all
30.
This isn't at all a sexist thing,
What's
but
that?
you don't see. First of all, you don't see a lot of like,
No,
female
actually,
directors.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was just
but-
thinking that on the way here is you really don't, much less.
in the horror
Exactly,
genre, and
exactly.
that's. I mean, besides, I forgot what her name is that directed American Psycho.
Oh, jeez.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Just because. I mean, I know Brady Snell has hated it, and he's my favorite author. But
Okay.
I mean,
He's a great author.
I don't think he knows shit about movies. If you watch The Canyon, although you
he
did
did
get
that.
to see Lindsay Lohan's tits, which is kind of nice.
I suppose.
I just used the word tits.
If you're into if you're into
weird.
a much more malnourished presentation, then I guess that's your cup of tea.
Yeah, so he didn't like her version of American Psycho, but I really did, especially looking.
You're referring to the film adaptation, right? Or screen adaptation?
Yeah. The film obviously, but like being able to watch that movie because it's very abusive towards women.
Oh, definitely.
And having a female's director eye turned on it, it's just I don't know. There's
She hit
something
all the right
interesting about
notes.
that. Yeah,
She really did.
And once again, it's one of those kind of like directing can be a very gender neutral thing if you allow it to be. It's kind of like I do writing. I'm a writer,
Sure.
and when I was in college, I was an English major in college.
Okay.
In some of my fiction classes, I wrote stories from the female perspective, and I had people in the class, especially women, that are just like, how can you write from the female perspective? It sounds like an actual girl. And I'm like, I just write a fucking human being.
You're like, because I am.
It's a fucking
You're
person.
like, I just got a sex change about 2 months ago, so I am a girl.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
I mean, it's just, you're just writing a human. Or, as good as it gets, Jack
Nicholson and Diane. No, not Diane.
He has that
Keaton,
quote that I absolutely love. Like, a woman asked him, like, how do you write women so well? And he's like, it's easy. I just think of a man and take away all logic and responsibility?
I think so.
Accountability.
Accountability.
Take away all logic and accountability.
Okay.
I'm like, Jesus.
That was great. Well, I'll tell you that.
That's a good fucking line, though.
It's a solidly written line. I mean, Catherine Bigelow, she's really broken the barriers, man, with respect to direction. Just her. She's got an eye for. What else did she do? Blue Steel with Jamie Lee Curtis. Did you ever see that?
I haven't seen it.
I mean, gosh, such a talent.
The only thing I know of Blue Steel is Zoolander. And that's the name of his look.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, which is also tying back to Bret Easton Ellis, because I think he tried to sue them for copyright infringement.
Who's that? The filmmakers?
Yeah, Bret Easton Ellis said that it was too directly adapted from Glamorama.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. That's interesting.
Once again, it's one of my favorite Bret Easton Ellis books. American Psycho's number one, but anyway.
So back to Near Dark here. Another.
Hey, American Psycho is in that genre.
Hey, no. Listen, I got no problem with that.
And like, it's a sociopathic killer. It's not too unlike a vampire.
No, gosh, you know what?
He's a high status sociopath who
You're absolutely
lives off
right.
of people's blood and misery.
We're going to stop right there because you just touched base on another great film, another potential candidate, right, of another segment that we have a little later in the show. So back to Near Dark here. The film itself, another little known fact is that the cast, all right, the cast itself, you'll notice if you revisit the film once more that the cast was actually borrowed from Aliens.
Really?
Yeah. Most of the cast, I should say, was borrowed from...
Except for the guy whose name I can't remember.
Who's that?
God, we're going to have to look that up.
We're going to have to look
We're going to have to, get out our smartphone and Google that shit.
We will. Fact check that shit. Fact check. But listen, so so people are wondering, okay, how is that possible? What's the correlation? Well, the correlation is such that she was once married to James Cameron, who directed Aliens, also Terminator Affair. What else are we talking? Titanic, Avatar, that sort of thing. So anyways, they were married. So, they said, hey, you know what?
Bill Paxton.
Yes. Oh, Bill Paxton. So that's the name of the actor. You can probably look up the movie that he was in. Yeah, of course I do. He was in, Bill Paxton was in, what am I thinking?
He was in Aliens, speaking of which.
Bill Paxton was in Aliens. He was also in Twister.
Wait, you just mentioned Aliens, didn't you?
I did. He is an alien. No, he's I think, was he in Aliens? You know what?
He was
You're right.
I'm looking at the IMDb.
What does it say?
He was in Aliens.
Okay, yeah, so that's what I meant.
He was in Titanic. Right. He was in Terminator. You were just saying using the same cast, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a bunch of regulars basically are in her. Nightcrawler, dude.
We're gonna bring that up later.
Oh, apparently. Look at the correlation. See, there's like a kind of a what a small world type feel right now.
Everything is connected, man.
I'm telling you, it's that 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You know what I mean? Anyway, and also another interesting fact.
And Jenny Wright was the one she's the one you're talking about, right?
Who's that?
Jenny Wright, she's the one who played the lead female in that movie. Isn't that the one isn't she the one that played the lead female?
I'm drawing a blank right now, but that sounds.
I'm pretty sure that she's
right.
the one who played.
That sounds
the
about
main
right.
Girl.
Another little known fact. You got to listen to this. This is real good. Is the fact that the word vampire isn't used at all. I mean, there's never is there a mention of the word vampire, which is actually kind of cool.
Cool. And so it is Jenny Wright who played, which by the way, I was absolutely in love, both with her character, as actually in love with her character. Because there's something about her character that's so attractive. And she plays the character so spot on. So I'm in love with the character, but I'm also in love with the idea of this character who is so aloof. Like she's she's a vampire, but you don't really know it at the beginning because she's so childlike.
Okay.
She's very playful. She's very, like I said, aloof. She's just
Perhaps
kind of not
unaware of herself, maybe.
No, not unaware. Like somebody who has lived for way too long.
Like someone who's what is it? Outstayed their welcome, perhaps. On Earth?
I mean, yeah, it's more like when you see movies that deal with aliens or creatures that are like thousands of years old, and they have this like post-humanism.
Okay.
Where they're like they see the world and they see things because they've watched everything die for
kind of like been
so
there,
many
done that
years.
type deal. Yeah.
Yeah, that they just have this distant look in their eye.
Yeah.
So you have this character who like basically sees through people instead of looking at people, that kind of a thing.
Okay.
But she's still interested in the main character.
Yep.
So he's somehow broken like this permeance of like this thing where she's not really there, but he still broke through somehow.
Okay.
Which I find that relationship very interesting. But I also, once again, just find that interesting as a character. It's just, it can be misinterpreted, I believe.
How so?
I mean, because I think it's so on the borderline of just being like a shitty character or a bad character or a bad acting.
Okay, like borderline, you say.
Borderline.
Okay.
Like, if it wasn't played correctly, it could just look like someone just didn't know how to fucking write.
Oh wow.
But
you're saying that the performance is such that it pretty much hits the right notes, I guess, for lack of a better
I'm not
phrase.
saying it's a bad script. I'm saying if the character was written with less thought, if the author of the script was
Screenwriter.
if the screenwriter wasn't as good, then the character would have just come off as
a caricature.
Yeah, flat and stupid. You know what I mean?
Or parody of itself, perhaps.
Like just because she's so childlike that it borderlines on dumb.
Oh wow.
But it's not. Like she's got that intelligence to her, but she still lives in this realm where like everything is kind of fantasy to her.
Sure.
Just because there's that playful nature of just being alive for so long and watching so much death that it's just almost like you would imagine like a goddess.
Yeah,
like
that's an interesting concept.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of like aloof nature of just like a nature goddess where she's just like kind of...
Well, talk about a feat in acting though, because it really requires a certain type of performance to bring that to life. I mean, that doesn't sound as demanding when you say it like that, but to actually put yourself in a position to harness those emotions is not as easy.
Yeah, and I also, just really quick, as far as a different look at the genre, I really enjoy the idea that you can cure it.
So when it's presented as a disease or an epidemic?
Right. I mean, like the idea that you can like drain the blood and replace it.
Like a transfusion.
Yeah, like give yourself a blood transfusion and it fixes it. I'm just fascinated by that.
What fascinates you about that?
I don't know. It's like I said, it's a different view that like somehow, first of all, that worked.
That concept,
that
concept
you can cure it.
Yeah.
And second of all, that people would want to be cured.
Well,
because that brings that up a lot, like the torment of being a vampire.
I'll tell you, to add to that, it's almost feasible. Like that's likely, I think, or a lot more likely to occur. At least that particular concept, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and it reminds me a lot of the Stellar Corpses song, Vampire Kiss, which they basically quote Lost Boys, which we'll get to on the next episode.
Sure.
But the chorus is like, I don't want to live forever, but I don't want to die like this. There's only one cure for reflection, and I never could resist the vampire kiss.
How appropriate.
So to me, that even though like there's a lot of references to Lost Boys, to me that chorus is very reminiscent of Near Dark.
Oh.
Like the thought of like he doesn't want to live forever.
Okay.
He doesn't want to be a vampire, but he doesn't want to die.
Sure. So kind of like caught in this like limbo, so to speak.
Yeah, so he doesn't want to be part of the nest, the gang of vampires.
Conform to the
but he almost does.
normalcy.
He almost does. But there's only one cure for a fading reflection. Once again, like I think they're in the song probably referring to death, but there is a cure. There is a cure in this movie,
Actually,
which is fascinating because they don't really explore that in a lot of other movies.
That, I was just about to make a mention to that, is the fact that that concept alone of a cure. Actually, I Am Legend sort of touched base on that, and we'll get into that a little later.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think this film, though, Near Dark, at least in my observation, presented that concept in a unique way. One that really grabbed your attention a little more.
I don't understand why more people, like other movies, like the characters haven't thought of that idea.
Because this is, well, you got to think of it this way, all right? With respect to everything else that's going on in the real world today, maybe a lot of writers feel somewhat fearful of touching material like that because it's sensitive,
How is it sensitive?
But because it might be seen as mirroring. That's a tough
Mirroring.
Mirroring.
I always say mirror wrong.
Mirror.
So
I'm sorry.
I say mirror wrong.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and say that now. Mirror wrong. It's all the dangers of mirror wrong. The real world, basically. I know what you mean. But you know what I'm saying. So that's how I feel about that. But I mean, if I see something like that, I'm all for it. I'm totally okay with that. I think it's almost it's probably the most ideal form of symbolism whenever a film can do that, can mirror a real world, the reality. Anyway, yeah, I mean, you hit on a lot of great points.
So let's move on from Near Dark. I'm sure we can do an entire episode on that at some other time.
And I'm sure we will.
We will definitely get back to it. Let's get into one of yours. What's one of your favorite vampire
One of my favorite
movies?
Movies or films from the genre, I'd have to say hands down, Nosferatu. Nosferatu.
So the original?
The original from 1922. That's right, folks. The 20s.
The roaring
20s.
So why? Why is that one of your favorites?
First and foremost, because it's a vampire flick.
We're discussing.
What's that?
We're discussing vampire flicks. I think you're gonna have to get a little more specific.
So you want me to go more in depth? Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
So yeah, in all seriousness here, this film, this is actually the first vampire film that I ever laid eyes on.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Like you watched the whole thing?
You better believe it. It's not very long.
Oh yeah, but I mean.
Yeah, it's not very long. The thing is,
because I feel like it's almost everybody's first exposure besides Bela Lugosi, but that doesn't mean people watch the whole movie.
Oh, well, the thing is, as a child, I saw it in installments. So it wasn't, I didn't sit through it. I really couldn't sit through it, to be frank, because I felt like a film like that, at least for a kid,
I'm humming a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's fine. Hum away. In fact, this was supposed to be a surprise.
Okay.
But you ruined it. So thanks. We have some listeners, a group of dedicated listeners who are actually working on a fan site for you and your humming cause. Not true. But anyway, back to...
you being a kid.
Yes, me being a kid. Thank you. So as a kid watching this, I was just beyond terrified. Beyond terrified. I couldn't even sit through it. You know?
So
it's creepy.
What I was saying about people's first exposure is that like picture of him coming up the stairs.
Silhouette. It's a silhouette.
Yeah, the silhouette. That's what I'm saying by like that's a lot of people's first exposure to
paralyzing.
Vampires.
It paralyzes you. Yeah, it paralyzes you, and that's the thing. This movie is so effective. It's almost Hitchcockian, and that's crazy to say because this was before Hitchcock's time. I mean, granted, Hitchcock's got just a vast resume, right?
Yeah, take that, Hitchcock. Fucking plagiarist.
Ooh,
No, I'm just kidding.
he's rolling.
I'm just
He's
kidding.
rolling in his grave right now.
Good.
You know, no, we love
Good.
Hitchcock.
I'd love to see his fat ass roll around.
Wow, look at you.
He's a dick.
What did he do?
He's
to
good
you?
at. You know,
How do you
good,
know he's a dick?
He's a good director.
Did you meet him
Because
before?
no, did you hear the stories about him on set?
But there's
like for the
stories.
birds where he was fucking throwing birds at people.
Dude, well,
like he was throwing
listen.
live birds at the actress or something.
All right, I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not gonna go ahead and advocate. You know. That whole
abusing and hitting on your
right.
actresses.
No, I'm not. This is not.
Yeah.
No, this is not about that. What is? I'm just referring to the individual.
I know, and as a director, and he's a good director. Don't get me wrong.
He's got a great vision. Come on. I mean, and you know what? In the future, the listeners can expect a show, pretty much routed, you know, involving.
Hitchcock?
Yeah.
All right.
Come on, the man warrants several podcasts.
This is a new announcement, by the way. We didn't discuss
This is a new announcement. This is what I did. I took my hand, all right, and I reached so far into my keister, man. You don't even know, pal. I mean, I shoved my arm. Anyway, so
don't
basically,
keister again, because that.
Keister.
And when I listened back to that, I was like, I hate that fucking word.
Why?
I really don't like that word.
Why is that? Okay, well, what would you prefer, good sir?
I don't know.
Tell me.
Ass.
Oh, no. Listen, in order for us to appeal to a much wider demographic, I'm going to go ahead and just censor myself a touch, just a smidge. Anyway, so back to...
so Nosferatu.
Yeah, so back to the film. You know, the silhouette, something as simple as a silhouette, which is also very Hitchcockian, like I mentioned, is enough to paralyze you. You don't even see the entity, the presence of this Count Orlok, but you get to see his Count. You get to see his silhouette, which is just as paralyzing. I mean, and what a setup that is. Okay, the film is entirely shot in black and white.
Obviously,
it's from
like
the 20s. But I have to tell you, they I mean, to this day, it never feels dated, and that is saying a whole lot because it's from the 20s.
From the 20s. Also, I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of a segue into another movie. But we can always bounce back and forth.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I wanted to bring up the idea of the vampire as a monster,
okay,
as opposed to just like the sexy kind of vampire that we're exposed to a lot these days.
Which, if I can, real quick, add to that, if I may, and don't lose your train of thought because you were going somewhere solid, baby.
I was
feeling it. I'm feeling it. Do
now
not forget that.
Me.
I have to because I'll forget.
Okay.
You have an excellent tendency to remember all this stuff, but I'm like the forgetful Frida here. You know what I mean? Anyway, hope. So basically, I forgot what I was going to say now. Gosh, I interrupted myself. I deserve that.
So you interrupted me.
And then I interrupted myself.
And then you fucking forgot. Okay.
So where were we? I was getting somewhere here.
Nosferatu, monster
yes,
instead of human-esque.
Okay. Oh, yes. I was referring to... All right. So obviously, while we're on this discussion of our beloved vampire genre, because we just love the genre, okay, how can you not bring up, I hate to say it, Twilight, all right, and that whole series? Listen to me. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here. Well, I'm just putting this out there, okay? So we can go ahead and appeal to a wider demographic. All right, listen to me. Hear me out.
Why I'm groaning so much? I actually watched all the movies.
What did you think? Did you like them?
I mean,
you didn't walk out of them, did you?
No, I didn't.
There you go.
I liked some of the directing just because it was almost like a music
video. They were finely executed, all right. But the thing is this:
they were well-made movies.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and knock the films and knock the adaptations and all that.
The second woman who played the redhead, the redheaded vampire, the bad guy,
older.
No. Like she's the redheaded vampire that they ended up eventually ripping her head off.
I can't recall.
I thought she was gorgeous. I think she's beautiful. But anyway, what about Twilight? So, I was going somewhere.
No, I know. And you know what? It's going to be a great segue. Check this out. The thing is this. All right. I'm not going to sit here and just can the film completely and say, listen, don't watch that film, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's got a different taste, a different cup of tea, so to speak. Right. All I'm saying is, it was made, a film like that was made, it was written to appeal to a certain demographic, and I think it does well in that regard. Not to say that it appeals to me, because I could care less of the film's existence, let's be honest. But one film, of course, and one perspective that I do care to listen to, pal, is yours. So
okay.
Go ahead.
Because I feel like we can get to the sexy vampire thing. Because I mean, there's other stuff like True Blood and stuff that I wanted to discuss, but that's probably gonna be in the second.
Yeah, I can
episode.
see the second installment covering that.
But so what I was connecting to was Nosferatu, the monster-like thing. Over time, vampires, of course, evolved to be more like sexy. But there was kind of a throwback to the monster thing in the graphic novel that became adapted as 30 Days of Night.
Oh.
Which I personally loved. I know it's not...
What did you love about it?
Okay, so I know it might not be a fan favorite for people, but I love the idea of looking once again at vampires as monsters.
Okay.
Like often we lose
Like creatures.
Yeah,
Not some glorified, like sexified object.
Yeah. I mean, we lose sight sometimes of just what a vampire is and what a vampire does.
What is a vampire to you?
Well, I mean, it's vampire, but the point is, we lose sight of like the raw violence and animalistic nature that comes from literally having to kill creatures and suck their blood.
Mm-hmm.
It can be obviously erotic, and it has been erotic, but I liked that going back to like when they call vampires a nest of vampires, it brings up this image of like just animals,
Sure.
like a creature. And I feel
nest. Yeah,
a
absolutely.
nest. Yeah, and I feel like some shows and some movies, they use that term and it just feels like kind of disjointed.
Sure.
But with
Like it doesn't belong, basically.
and they don't use that term, I believe, in 30 Days a Night. But it's still like I feel like that's very encompassing of these like mainly hairless, long nailed, like that scene, and it stuck with me from the trailer and I loved it. That scene of him putting his nail down on the record and like scratching the record with his nail was fucking fascinating.
Instant classic, yeah.
It's great. And then one of my favorite things about the movie reflects one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
What's that?
Which is this brilliantly done, super effective overhead shot.
Okay.
Somewhere, once they're aware of the vampires, and the vampires are totally wreaking havoc of this town, they do this overhead shot, and you see the people in the street running, and the vampires are just going to town, and you see them just slashing at people from overhead, and you see the blood splattering, the red blood splattering all over the white snow.
It was an epic display.
Especially that overhead scene. It's really it's
cinematic.
It's so high up, but it's like watching this dance and these pops.
Sure.
It's like
It's graceful. It's a
explosions.
graceful rendition of that sequence.
Right. And I don't know, like the way that blood and snow go so well together.
Oh yeah.
It was a
There's
perfect
much more of
blend
an
for that movie.
emphasis on the reds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't know, like, God, what was I? Oh yeah, the idea. It's fucking brilliant. I don't know why anyone hasn't thought of the idea of like,
What's that?
Oh yeah, way up there, they have a whole month of darkness. Like, no shit, that'd be great for vampires. That's fucking
ideal.
hunting season.
No, the concept is
right?
grand. The concept is grand.
And it plays very well to that almost cabin fever-esque element of I've heard that a lot of towns way up there where they have those long winters of night. I've heard a lot of towns will actually ban alcohol for those 30 days.
No way.
Because they just have so many
What
problems.
month
with
does that
depression.
take place?
I don't remember. It's probably I think it's in the winter, obviously. But just the idea that people get so stir crazy and so depressed from the lack of like you get melatonin from sunshine, right?
Correct. I believe, if
Is
I'm not
it?
mistaken. No, it's a vitamin.
No. Melatonin is what you release when you sleep. Is it serotonin? Whatever
gonna have
you
to
get,
fact
vitamin
check
D.
Vitamin D.
But that lack of sunshine, because I mean, people don't realize, but that the sunshine that actually does improve your mood.
Sure.
So a lack of sunshine, which poor Seattle. That's why it's so depressing over there.
I'd like to visit Seattle.
But yeah, that lack of sunshine really fucks with your head. And they realized people were like drinking themselves to death, committing suicide.
Well, think about it. It was their way of
problems.
coping. You know, it was their way of coping.
So, the idea that there's built into 30 Days of Darkness is this level of insanity that the town is already going to be experiencing.
Yeah.
So amidst that emerges these actual creatures.
Sure.
That
and
are
quite brutal depiction too of a vampire creature, I would say.
Yeah,
in recent
100%.
In recent memory.
And they obviously they communicate
memory.
and they have some sense of community and family, but at the same time, they're not interested in human beings the way that even vampires that are once again more aloof and don't really care about humans.
Sure.
They're not usually actively aggressive towards them.
Well, no, there's a much more subtle approach, and I think that Bela Lugosi, Christopher Lee, which we'll be discussing a little later in the podcast, these are individuals that were pioneers of that particular approach, where it was a more subtle approach, kind of like, hey, let me just go, like seduction, where I'm going to seduce you, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of take my time, similar the foreplay action. Here we go, talking about foreplay again, huh? Where you're pretty much, you see your meal, I'm looking at my meal, I'm a lion, I'm looking at my meal. And I'm just waiting for the right moment to prey upon.
And there's also like almost I would believe a purposeful throwback to World War II.
Okay, how so?
Where they're hiding in the attic and they have to stay really, really quiet.
Okay.
Because they know these things are looking for them, and it's almost like like when the Nazi soldiers were searching for hidden Jews.
You gathered that from this adaptation.
You didn't see that?
No, absolutely.
When they were hiding in the attic?
No, I see it. That's why I'm like trying to understand. Like, really, did we just see the same thing? Because that was the first thing I gathered.
Really?
Absolutely.
This invasion of the town.
Yeah, definitely. And the darkness really played into that. Another little fact, a little known fact, I should say, surrounds a lot of the references in the film. So there are references in this particular film to such pieces as The Lost Boys, Fright Night, and of course, one that we'll be discussing a little later, Salem's Lot.
So what kind of references are there to like Lost Boys, for instance?
Lost Boys, I think it was more or less the approach, right, of the vampire itself, and also too the way that it's shot. A lot of the shots are reminiscent of a similar style in which the Lost Boys was shot. So there's another reference of Salem's Lot. Actually, there's a scene, I don't know if you recall, where there's a vampire that pretty much crashes through a kitchen window, and then he kind of like ascends like slowly, like he rises, real like just slowly. That's a nod to Salem's Lot. So it's chock full of homages, chock full of references. And you know what? My hat's off to that film, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't care too much for the graphic novel. All right, and I know that sounds kind of off there. Considering that I'm a fan of the film.
The artwork is beautiful.
Oh no, the artwork is gorgeous, but I wasn't too crazy about the, Anyway, so, but now, given the fact that the film has been released, I'm more inclined to revisit the novel, the graphic novel, and check it out.
Yeah, it's not bad. And then they did the sequels to the graphic novels, and then they tried to make the sequels for
How
the
did they come out?
I don't remember. I remember.
Did they succeed? Have they actually made something?
If I remember correctly, I didn't hate the sequel. It's obviously a low budget, but yeah, that also just moving along with the vampires as monsters. An interesting take is the Guillermo del Toro, The Strain.
Yes.
Which is a very new look.
It's an entirely different concept altogether, I feel.
Yeah, like the idea of parasites,
like
being the central part of vampirism.
Right.
That you turn into a almost insect-like creature.
Exactly.
That spreads parasites.
Talk about, that's taken, for instance, David Cronenberg's concept, of The Fly. Was it 1987? 85 or 87, I believe. But that takes that particular concept to a whole nother level. I mean, because not only is he turning into this thing, but he's spreading it,
and it's
in
got
such a way that's just...
And it's got that body
pushing the envelope
element, like the jaws open.
Absolutely. Well, see, that's all Del Toro right there. That's basically his deal. That's his cup of tea. He dedicates himself to fashioning his characters in such a way.
Yeah, and it is very reminiscent. The show itself is reminiscent of a zombie outbreak.
Sure.
Like ground zero of a
Like you're
zombie
28
outbreak.
days later.
Yeah, where I forgot what I was watching recently, but it had this concept of like the government is trying to still kind of keep the idea under wraps. So like the show, a lot of what's going on, like they're trying to kind of cover it up and oh, I know, the new Fear the Walking Dead.
Okay.
They have the same element to it where they're aware that people are coming back from the dead, but they're still trying not to spread the news, so people still don't know what's going on.
I like
'cause
that
it's happening
concept.
so slowly.
I like that.
And the same with the strain, like they like refuse to acknowledge this outbreak until it gets too
To
late.
avoid hysteria, right?
I guess. I mean, it's kind of stupid, but they avoid it until the point where it's way too late. But speaking of, and I'm jumping again. Speaking of the idea of an outbreak, is Stakeland, which I remember watching a couple of years ago at least. And I really liked it. I tried rewatching it. I think my memory of it was probably better than the movie.
Okay.
Not that I don't like it, but I don't know. But anyway, it's really cool concept because it's almost got like The Road kind of thing where
Cormac McCarthy, yeah.
where they're trying to like get somewhere. So
Sure.
like they're trying to
They're on a journey, so to speak.
or The Walking Dead kind of
Yeah.
thing where they're trying to get to this sanctuary
Destination,
that apparently exists. And while they're the concept, which is fascinating, is that there's a vampire outbreak, and the vampires are essentially like zombies.
Okay.
So they react on basic instincts. They have like no humanity left. So they're just these creatures that just want to consume. And you take that and you add vampire powers, super strength, super speed, viciousness. I believe there's a part where like one of them jumps on like a car and starts trying to rip through like the roof or whatever. But if I'm correct. Okay. But so that's fascinating. But then also on top of that is that one of the main antagonists in the film, because of course the vampires aren't, they're just they're like zombies. They're just something that happens in the background. They're white noise. But the main antagonist is this religious cult. And I don't know if they believe that like this. I think they believe that this is like God's way of cleansing the earth for sins or whatever. I think.
Okay.
But it brings this. It comes to this climax of this specific scene. Not even the climax, but it comes to this specific scene that I have never seen before, but I find fascinating.
What's that?
Really cool. Is they make it to this kind of smaller sanctuary. It's not the big one that's run by the government that they're trying to get to. But they find this like smaller town that has found a way to isolate itself from the problem. And they're kind of like relaxing. They're recharging their batteries. I think they might even be considering staying there. Mm-hmm. And there's like this big celebration. There's this big party going on. It's some kind of holiday. And out of nowhere, these helicopters show up. And it's the religious zealots. Oh, wow. And they start, it's like chemical warfare mixed with bombing. They start dropping vampires into this town.
Shut your mouth.
They're bombing them with vampires.
Just shut it.
Yeah. They fly over them and throw vampires out.
What do you mean throw? What does that mean? Like,
I mean, they fly over and they like kick these vampires out of the helicopter. They have them like held captive somehow, and they like
so they're
unchain them and
them.
throw
They're
them.
releasing the vampires.
Like, that's what I'm saying. They throw them out of the helicopters and they land in the town
in midair.
Yeah, because it's a helicopter.
Right.
Yeah, they're flying over and they're throwing.
You're like, because it's a helicopter, you doofus. I mean, what else would it be doing?
That's what they do in helicopters.
What else do helicopters do? Go to a supermarket and buy groceries? I mean, shoot. Anyway.
But yeah, so It's just so cool because they're fucking bombing this town, because they set up borders and they got fences, and they're bombing from above by dropping fucking monsters on them.
That's cool.
And I've never seen that before.
No.
I don't think anyone's ever thought of that.
That's
can you
unique.
imagine like a zombie movie where they just threw zombies on people?
My hat's off to the filmmakers on this one. Seriously, wow, that's a nice concept. I like that.
Hilarious.
It is funny.
I mean, it's sad in the movie.
It is sad though,
because they're like having a party and they're celebrating. And you're like, yay, everyone's happy. And then it's like this slow motion starts happening, and like you see
like
the
a decline,
helicopters.
just a gradual decline.
The vampires are tearing the town apart, and you're just like, oh
man,
no, help me! But yeah, like vampires as monsters. I just wanted to touch base on that.
Sure.
Because obviously when we get into themes, there's a lot of symbolism in vampirism.
Yep.
But I do like the idea of just a general like consumption, just like these creatures that just consume.
Well, I think that's when you're bringing the genre back to its roots, because I think society recognizes the character, the vampire character, right? Mm-hmm. As an individual whose main objective is to feed, right?
Right.
I need blood,
Right.
I do like different takes on that concept. Like for instance, and these are also some films that we'll be covering a little later in the podcast. A girl walks home alone at night.
Yeah.
All right, that was a brilliant take on the genre. You also have such affairs as what's another one that I'm missing here? What are we talking? Let the Right One In.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Let the Right One In, and actually I was looking at that, and Let Me In, the remake, which
actually I have yet to see that.
Almost shot for shot. It's very similar,
reminiscent. How did you feel about it?
Like seriously, almost shot for shot. It's very, very, very. Similar.
Now, would you say that that's okay, or because my thing is, if it's gonna go shot for shot, then why do the remake?
Well, the thing is, okay, so first of all, they didn't need to do a remake,
exactly,
but. In all fairness to them,
solid remake.
Yes, but in all fairness, it's in a foreign language, and most people aren't going to go see a foreign language film.
True, and that's a good point. I get that.
Yeah,
I get
first
that.
of all, second of all, I feel like they, and I don't know if this is a plus or a minus.
What's that?
But because it was American actors, and I feel like they casted like a female and a male. As opposed to the original, because it's in Norway or in Sweden or some shit.
No, I think it takes place in Spain, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
Sure about that?
No, because the people are pale with white hair and blue eyes.
I could be wrong. I might be thinking. I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But it's one of the Norwegian type countries, that area.
I was thinking of the Devil's Backbone.
Yeah, no. But the interesting thing is that a lot of people have described people from that area as being almost angelic, to the point where a lot of people, they're so pretty, but they're so pale and they have such blonde hair that someone, I don't remember, described it as you almost feel like they don't have sexual parts.
How so?
You can't imagine them having nipples or crotches.
No nips, no crotches.
No, just almost everything would be smooth because they're just so
like a Barbie,
so angelic. The way that they look is just so pure, like a doll. Which I'm sure any listeners in those countries are gonna hate us now. But
they're like doll. What do you mean
anyway, because of that, the main characters, the main girl and the boy. The gender is so neutralized by that base beauty, angelic look.
Sure.
That the main boy in the movie is very feminine looking. He looks like you can't tell if he's a boy or a girl. And then her and their relationship that they have, which almost becomes almost an adult relationship in the matter of. But in the playful exploration, which I feel is very hard to do in American cinema.
What's that?
I think a lot of American filmmakers, I think most actually, which is more popular in Europe, they shy away from child sexuality.
Well, you're right. That's correct. However, once in a while there comes a breed of filmmakers that actually are have the goal enough to approach such sensitive subject matters. Okay?
Yeah, but I mean, I
like
don't...
your Larry Clarks, who else? There was this one film that I've seen that I saw actually or checked out a couple of years ago, probably about a decade ago. The Woodsman with Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, personally, I just don't remember seeing a lot of American films that they approach that idea.
They're out there, but a lot of them are independent. Hardly any of them are mainstream.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And but yeah, I feel like that topic gets explored a lot in like more European films, but especially that age group where they're prepubescent
and without shame though. They do it without shame. I mean,
right.
There's no shame.
And that's the interesting thing is that I feel like American society, we try to shy away.
Maybe
we shy away from not even sugarcoat. We completely shy away from the
addressing
idea that
the elephant in the room.
Yeah, well, that you shying away from the idea that prepubescents are still sexually aware. I feel like our society wants to ignore that and wants to push that under the rug and even wants to discourage that.
Okay.
But the idea of I'll show you mine if you show me yours was I feel like a concept that was more comfortable in media and just in general maybe 20, 30 years ago.
Sure.
But now is very taboo. Just the exploration of children. Because, I mean, I know, like, I've gone through that as a kid. I think a lot of kids, when they're 5, 6 years old, they're curious about the bodies of the opposite gender.
Yeah.
And there's exploration, and it doesn't necessarily
mean... a certain curiosity that comes with that.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And it's like a sexual play, but it's not actual sexuality. So it's this weird medium where you both know that you're aware of human sexuality on a base animalistic level.
Sure.
You don't have the wherewithal to procreate yet, but you're still. It's almost like two pups fighting.
You know what it is?
You know what I mean?
I know exactly.
Like they're not big enough to actually fight away predators or take down prey, but they're still reenacting it.
Exactly. I think the best way to describe it is they're acquainting themselves with that concept, with what that is.
Mm-hmm.
They're just getting to know that. And yeah, you're right. It's unfortunate that a lot of American affairs from American cinema, or in American cinema rather, they do shy away from that. So whenever you come across a film that approaches that particular subject matter, I'll tell you, it's refreshing. I mean, at least that's what I think. That's my perspective.
Yeah, and just Let Me In is a cool title because it's almost like Drag Me to Hell. I like the me thing in titles. But because it's personalizing. Drag me to hell, not drug to hell. Drag me or let me in. Yeah. But Let the Right One In, which is a softer title.
Sure. It's subtle. It's kind of like, wait, what does that mean?
But yeah, that's my point, is that I still have to think about it. I still don't know exactly what let the right one in means. Maybe it's the girl letting the right person into her secret and her life. Yeah. Maybe it's him letting the right person in because he's so detached and so alienated from his peers. And they find this beautiful, beautiful relationship between the two of them where they're both outcasts in a specific way. And they find a way to protect each other. Obviously, she's more physical, which is also interesting because it's a gender swap. She protects him on a physical level, and he protects her on more of an emotional level.
Isn't that something? I like that.
Yeah, which once again, I feel like that kind of goes with that gender neutrality of his character, where he's very almost feminine looking, and obviously he's treated as such because he gets picked on. It's
a concept that never fed into your what is it, the concept, right? Like a similar concept, a cliche, if you will.
And the brutality of I didn't like it as much in the remake because I think they made it more CGI-esque.
Oh gosh.
But the brutality of the scene when the guy is walking under the bridge or whatever.
This is the remake you're talking about, right?
No, the original.
Oh, the original. Okay.
They did it again in the remake, but I think the remake was CGI. But the original, where somebody's like walking down the bridge or whatever. I don't remember if he talks to her or not, but she like jumps on him and starts attacking.
Sure.
and it's just so visceral.
Well, I just feel my concern is that a scene like that could take away from just the overall picture of the film. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's the opposite. I think it reminds you that on the most basic level, she's a monster.
No, I can see that. So basically, it's letting you know that, all right, hey, I'm a creature. I'm a monster. These are my ways. Yeah. I understand that, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, for instance, a girl walks home alone. A girl walks home alone at night. That was very subtle in the approach. You really never really saw too much gore. You saw, for what you did see, it was impactful. But again, it was night and day to the film that you're currently describing.
I feel like I want to rewatch that movie from a slightly different standpoint, because where it takes place, it's obviously
not typical.
Yeah, it's like it's probably Middle Eastern, I'm assuming.
Iran, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, okay. So the point is, it's in a place where female sexuality is extremely discouraged.
Sure.
And you're looking at a vampire, which has become a very sexual being.
Definitely.
And even like the scenes where like she's dancing with her hijab off.
That is, talk about controversial. That's pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I mean, even like the thought of her like, riding down the street on a skateboard.
At that point, it almost seemed like the director's kind of like got a middle finger and say, you know what?
Yeah.
Come at me.
Yeah.
Come at me.
Or her being the persecutor. When women in those societies are so persecuted,
exactly,
that her being the persecutor,
it's
her
a
being
different
the
stance
monster.
altogether, and I think that is the true star of the film. The female lead was just spectacular,
and I feel like the male lead just constantly wants to treat her like she's a girl, and she doesn't have the power.
He wants to feed into that, and that's that was basically meant to perhaps mirror our current reality or just the way that things are, let's be honest.
Yeah. So, and it's brilliantly shot. It's a beautiful movie.
And that's I gotta piggyback on that statement. When Casey says that it's brilliantly shot, I mean, it is. It's just you gotta watch it. If you have yet to see the film, we invite you. I mean, please do yourself a favor and watch A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Okay, so moving on, I have to ask you, I guess if you had to pick a vampire from like one form of media, it doesn't matter what media it is.
You mean like film, TV,
comics, books?
Okay.
What do you think is the premier vampire?
Like the most superior rendition?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a loaded question, but thankfully I've got notes.
Like you weren't prepared. For
I know.
That fucking
I'm over here
question.
You're
like, oh, I didn't expect
thankfully,
that coming. Good thing I have these handy dandy notes.
It's actually good that I've got my notes handy.
Right,
yeah. So okay.
All right, Pippin.
What'd you call me?
Pippin.
Pippin.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It was I think it's based off of some play or something, but it was a South Park character. From their earlier seasons.
I can't say. I have.
His name was Pippin. He talked like this.
I have to revisit the show.
He was English. Anyway.
Was he English? Is that your English accent?
No, that's not my English accent.
Okay.
It's me trying to do a Pippin accent.
Yeah, yours is far better. All right. So
I can do a better English accent.
What's that?
I can do a better
I know, that's
English
what I'm
accent.
saying. Yours is far better.
Oh, have you heard me do one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, back to the matter at hand.
Back into it.
So we're talking about the most superior rendition of a vampire character. Mm-hmm. We're talking media, different media outlets. So TV, radio, comics.
The radio.
Film.
Anyway.
So what I consider probably one of the most superior renditions has to go to the late, great Christopher Lee. And he is more notably responsible for a rendition of Dracula that I consider the best.
All right. Well, there's a lot of Draculas, so give us a time period.
Time period, you mean with regards to era of the film, or what are we talking?
Like when,
so you're basically
when
talking
did it come out?
Hammer. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and reference Hammer films.
Oh, Jesus, Hammer.
Yeah.
We could do a whole episode.
Hammer
films.
deserves several podcasts. So Christopher Lee was instrumental in really catapulting that character, the Dracula character, to another level. The guy made it his own. He was.
That's the one that
Dracula.
you posted the picture for on Facebook.
Exactly.
Right? On our Facebook page.
That's right.
That you should like.
That you should like, and if you haven't liked, check it out.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, Christopher Lee. This guy. I mean, the man is an acting god, and I'll tell you, he just brought a different depth altogether to Dracula, night and day to that of Bela Lugosi's rendition. Night and day.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, we can't talk about vampires without talking about Bela Lugosi.
No, I mean, Lugosi was the individual to put I think, the genre on the map.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's synonymous with Dracula. I mean, that's him. But if you want to say who the most superior, far more superior rendition, that belongs to Lee. That's his role.
Okay. I mean, if you ever see a Halloween costume, it's going to be the Lugosi.
You'll be hard-pressed to find a Lugosi for someone who admires the work of Christopher Lee.
Or like Monster Squad. That guy was definitely based on the
Wonderful
Lugosi.
Wonderful reference.
Good movie.
Indeed. So moving on.
Frankenstein. Or, we still have to talk about, really quick, the Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder Dracula.
Ooh, Francis Ford Coppola's version.
Which was,
Gary Oldman.
Which was, cinematography-wise, it was,
beautiful.
Fascinating.
Beautiful.
Very well put together.
Very exotic rendition, too.
Yeah, like, it was, the creature that you, I guess, would know from literature. Being able to shapeshift, having this shadow that is cognizant.
Wonderfully done.
Like being able to like shadow monster its way around.
Sure.
This old, creepy, barren,
also
like,
perhaps
Count's guy.
Perhaps an homage to The Thing. Okay, with regards to the shape-shifting aspect and the kind of like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just shape-shift. That's what I do. That's what I do.
But I like the den also of sexy vampires. But anyway, so yeah, moving on from that.
So basically, as I mentioned, Christopher Lee, I think, is in my opinion, an observation, the most superior with regards to renditions of that character.
Interesting.
Stephen Jeffries from Fright Night. He was the kid. He played Evil Ed, actually. I don't know if you recall that. When's the last time you visited Fright Night?
Wow. I mean, I saw the remake recently, but...
Which I haven't seen.
I liked it.
Did you?
Would
you say it's faithful?
I'd say it's campy. I don't know about faithful, but I mean...
Colin Farrell in the lead, I think...
it's campy, it's fun, it's stupid.
Was a solid choice.
It is very aware that it's cheesy.
Okay.
Almost to a fault.
To that era? Like it tries too hard, or?
No, I mean, kind of. It gets almost there.
Like borderline, basically.
Borderline. But I liked it. I know a lot of people thought it was kind of sacrilege.
Do you think that I will like it?
I don't know.
But, I'm a faithful.
I do love
follower of
this
the
one
original
scene where, like, because obviously he can't be invited in.
Sure.
He has to be invited in. And so his solution is to like dig up and fuck up the gas main and blow up the house.
Okay. What?
Yeah, he's digging up. Like they're like, what is he doing? And he like digs all the way down into the gas main and he like blows the fucking house up to get them out. Because he can't go in.
That's brilliant.
But he can burn the house down.
This is the remake. Is this the remake you're referring to?
Yeah.
That's quite brilliant.
Yeah, imagine
that's kind of like
Farrell,
relentless. Like I don't give a shit, you know. I'm just gonna go ahead and set this place on fire, and then out they come. Here's my meal.
Another thing, I don't know why they don't do more in vampire movies. Like,
what's that?
I can't get invited in. Might as well burn the fucker down.
Yeah,
they'll come out.
I like that. See,
yeah.
Now I'm more inclined to gravitate towards that film after that statement. Definitely. So we're talking about Christopher Lee,
and also they can only enter if there's no living owner of the house, right?
What? Really?
I believe they have to, like, if they can enter domiciles that are abandoned.
Sure.
So there has to be a living owner of the house.
Oh, present, basically. In order to
present.
Be invited in.
Yeah. So I wonder if like they like, you know, someone answered the door and they just shot him, and then they can go in the house.
There's a notion.
Shot him in the face.
Run a comb through.
And then,
definitely.
boom, you can walk in.
Yeah, you're in.
Right?
That's
I mean,
the,
like, if there's, let's say there's other people in the house who don't own the house
Okay.
that you're trying to get to.
Sure.
Like, let's say, like, the
Does that
friend
qualify?
runs to his friend's house.
Yeah, like his buddy's just like,
Yeah.
you know, you got Phil. We're gonna call him. We're gonna go ahead and call this guy Phil. You got Phil just lounging around, and he's, you know, in his undies, and he's just got, you know, a beer gut and you know, his cheese puffs, and he's lounging around, and he's just like, hey, whatever, you know. And then all of a sudden, you know, the doorbell, and then he's like, well, who's that? And then, like, you know, Phil walks up to the door and he's like, hey, what's up? You know, you want to come in? Oh shit! Is that blood?
That's inviting in, though. I'm saying beyond that.
Inviting.
I'm saying, like,
no. Let's say he just opens the door and lets him in.
No, but that's
not really inviting. It's just kind of like, whatever. Come
that's
in.
not my point. My
What's your
point
point?
is like let's say the vampire is going after somebody.
Okay.
And he knows that the guy is going to go to his friend's house. So the vampire gets there first. The friend opens the door, doesn't want to invite him in. So the vampire just takes out a gun, shoots his friend in the fucking face, and kills him, and then he can come in.
Now, you're saying
Right?
this is something that you thought of?
I mean, I've never seen anyone do it.
Okay, you heard it here first, folks. This
Don't
is a
steal my idea.
Casey Pletcher original. That's a
No,
solid
I've
concept.
never seen it before.
Okay, it's an original in the sense that I haven't seen it either. So that's a solid concept.
Yeah.
You bastard.
I'll have to write that in somewhere.
Write it.
Okay, so you haven't... sorry.
Oh,
You
so basically, just to cap it off here. So yeah, Stephen
Mm-hmm.
Jeffries as Evil Ed. I mean, what a performance! I remember watching. Actually, I revisited this film 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Fright Night. We're talking about
Right.
the original, 1985. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And anyway, so you've got this character, and he's just got such glee and like kind of like I don't give a shit attitude. I'm gonna wreak havoc and just have a ball. Mm-hmm. And this, I mean, he has a ball with the role. He really does it, and I loved it. You know, I think he was the best part of the film for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
He was also in 976 Evil, which was we'll talk about further in another podcast. Okay. Kiefer Sutherland as David in The Lost Boys, which obviously we'll make more of a mention
get
to
into Lost
in the
Boys
second
next episode,
installment
yeah.
of our podcast here. But our podcast,
Podcast.
a good old podcast. Anyway, so yeah, that pretty much sums up what I feel. I have to ask you the absolute same question, good sir. Let's hear it.
Me.
Let's hear it. Come on, little old
Me.
you. Absolutely.
Me. Okay. Well, and by the way, like, just for the listeners at home, I know we're running a little long, so we're probably going to take the theme section and probably move it to the second part. It's part 2.
So
just so we can explore a little bit more, because there's still a couple topics we want to touch
bear
base
with
on.
us. Bear with us.
And
There's
I know
a lot to talk about.
We're getting close to an hour and a half, so
close.
We want
to sort of keep it at that.
I mean, there's obviously no specific time period,
right?
Because it's a podcast, we can go as long as we want, but we're trying to keep it reasonable.
It's our party, yeah.
So my favorite, and this is going to be a little bit, I guess, out of left field for a lot of listeners, but fans of the genre may be aware of comics, and I would hope they are avid comic book readers. I personally love horror comics. That's my favorite kind of comic book.
Oh, hands down.
If you look at my shelf, I mean, there's most of it's
ladies and gentlemen, I'm
related.
looking to the right of me here, and I see that Casey does in fact have just a vast array of graphic novels here. I mean, some good stuff, Case. I'm seeing Walking Dead, Watchmen, gosh, The Punisher, Heroes. I mean, you name it. It can go. The Killing Joke. All right, Batman: The Killing Joke.
Yeah, this guy likes comics. But one of, and I'll say it, one of, I think, my all-time favorite comic series of all time.
Let's hear it. All time.
All time.
Can you say all time?
All time.
Thus far. You should end it with thus far, because all time is like all of my life, and we have yet to live all of our lives.
I mean, I think all time is implied thus far.
Thus far. Okay, I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, and by the way, first issue, and I think maybe the third issue, or maybe the second, written by one Stephen King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his first foray into comics.
You're talking about.
And then I'll get to it. Okay. And then brilliantly penned, not art wise, but the art's beautiful, by Scott Snyder.
For those listeners who are not familiar with the work of one Scott Snyder, Case, can you enlighten us a bit?
I'm gonna. Yeah, it's Scott Snyder. Man, he's known a lot from characters. He's worked on Batman.
Oh, sweet.
But he is one of the premier comic book writers in the industry right now. He's one of the best.
Is that right?
And this is kind of a pet project of his, because he obviously has a lot of mainstays. He's a big writer. but American Vampire.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh, the story of Skinner Sweet and God, I forgot the female character. I have them all. I have them all so far. I think it's 7 or 8 volumes in, and I have.
You're so excited that you're drawing a blank. That's what it is.
Violet. I think her name's Violet.
Violet?
I believe her name's Violet.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I love this series. To me, those are my absolute favorite vampires. If I was to be a vampire, it would be those. First of all, one of the cool things is that in the series, there's different breeds. Like there's different subspecies of vampires.
Okay.
Going back older and older in time, some of them are like some of the original ones, and then moving forward, there's almost like a family tree. You can see the splits where certain vampire species kind of evolved.
Okay.
And then those evolutions had evolutions. And
so different classes, so to speak.
there's different classes, yeah. One of them actually is like werewolves is like actually a class of vampire.
What?
Which is fascinating. But
aren't they separate, I guess,
not in this
entities
series.
altogether? Or not in this one?
Not in this series.
That's probably one of the first times that I've ever seen that done.
But first of all, I love the way that the vampires in this series, their hands become elongated into like kind of claws.
Terrifying.
Like longer, like not just like an inch of like nail. I mean, like they become like
elongated,
long knife like claws when they attack. Their jaws become a lot more slack. It's just able to kind of come down a lot farther.
This is in the comic.
This is in the comic.
Okay.
Their eyes kind of yellow out, and they just they become become monsters.
You know what? That's a nod to Salem's Lot for one, and two also Nosferatu.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So, but the cool thing about especially Skinner Sweet
let's hear it.
is I believe he is the origin vampire for this newer subspecies that is the American vampire.
Okay.
Which he passes on to. I believe her name's Violet. But which is this really cool concept where he's a daywalker. Although there are vampires in the series that can't go out during the day.
For those of our listeners, for those listeners who are not familiar with that term, daywalker, I know it seems a bit obvious, but for those listeners who are not familiar, what is a daywalker, Casey?
A vampire that can walk in the day.
Okay, so obviously that rendition was utilized in this comic.
Yeah. So there are other vampire species that can't go out in the day in the comic.
Talk about threatening though. That concept's threatening.
So I mean, Skinner is just like as a character is amazing. You love to hate him.
Why so?
He becomes sympathetic at parts, but he's also a ruthless asshole shithead of a murderer.
Okay.
But anyway,
so they try to humanize what you're saying.
Yeah, they do a good job because that's the cool thing about the medium is that they have enough. I mean, if you look at the volumes, I mean they're thick, and there's a bunch of them. They're on the left hand side. You should see American Vampire. Yeah, so they're long, they're thick. They have enough time to really get into character, and it jumps around in time because they're so old that the time period. I think the oldest it usually goes back to is Western time. That's when Skinner I think became a vampire.
Like early 1900s.
So you get to see him as like a gun.
1880.
He's basically like originally like a gunslinger.
Sort of like the Dark Tower.
Yeah, who becomes a vampire. And then I believe
Wait a second.
Daisy. Her name's Daisy, not Violet.
A vampire epic.
Pretty sure it's Daisy.
A vampire western?
Yeah. So
you do you realize now I have to
anyway,
buy all that.
Yeah,
I have to read that.
And
stuff.
then she gets turned she's a Hollywood starlet in the early days of Hollywood. I think it's the 40s.
In the comic or
in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets turned and it kind of goes through there like it goes through. There's a really cool, and this is one of the only issues that I don't have, one of the only volumes. There's this, the front cover is a greaser with vampire teeth.
Okay.
Which obviously, if you've seen the pictures on our Facebook, I went as that for Halloween once, a greaser with vampire teeth.
Yeah,
because I really like that concept. The vampire, I mean, that's used a lot too. The vampire greaser is definitely kind of a trope.
Oh, definitely.
But he, in that one, they have a vampire hunter who is a greaser. It takes place in the 50s because once again they jump around in time. There's actually a really cool one that it's almost like the Rob Zombie Nazi werewolves. It's like the Nazis start like working with the vampires. Yeah. So there's SS werewolves, not werewolves, vampires. But anyway, so the 50s one, it's this like greaser who is a vampire hunter, and his shtick is that he has wooden vampire teeth that he puts in his mouth and he bites vampires with them.
Oh, wow.
So he like tears vampires' throats out with like wooden teeth.
That sounds like something that I would do if I were a vampire.
But he's not a vampire. He's a hunter.
Well, either or, hunter or vampire.
That's the whole thing. That's why it's wood.
Right.
But anyway, so the American vampire.
I got that. You gave me this look like it's wood.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I get it.
Okay. But the American vampire is a daywalker. But the thing that sets his subspecies apart, which is why like nobody can kill him, is that his only way to kill him is he's allergic to gold.
Ooh, as opposed to silver. Actually, no, silver would be werewolves.
Usually. I think silver in like True Blood, you can tie vampires up with silver and stuff like that, and it burns them. So that is part of the myth. But gold, so nobody can figure out what kills him because it's fucking gold. Nobody thinks to like shoot somebody with a golden bullet or something.
Yeah,
or like stab somebody with
gold.
A gold.
Even though I think the price of silver has increased considerably.
But yeah, so it's this weird thing, and I think at one point they like inject him with some kind of something where like they put like gold flakes into his bloodstream, and it just
the hunter
fucks him. Yeah.
Wow. But is that deterrent, right?
Yeah, I think
sort of.
I mean, it's kind of like eating him from the inside.
It's killing him.
I believe.
Is what you're saying.
I believe. I don't remember. It's been a while since
I really hope that that's the concept because that sounds amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, to me, it has all the classics of a vampire. I mean, the main female is very pretty, but she's also very kind-hearted. She like helps later on in the series. She like runs like an underground railroad for stray vampires, and
she does.
Help them. Yeah. So she's and she like has a lover who's human, and like that's part of it. Is that like part of the story is that she gets turned, but she still is with her husband. And she stays with him until he gets old. And
that reminds me of Buffy.
Yeah, so we'll get into Buffy in the next episode because I have a whole lot to talk about Buffy.
Are you actually going to get into Buffy? Our listeners are going crazy right now.
I would love to. I don't know if you saw the Twitter post of I retweeted a picture of Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Did you?
She was my original crush, man. Like
back in the day.
Yeah, I remember like I was so obsessed with her that I read a magazine. This still sticks in my head. If she's listening, she's gonna be creeped out. But I don't know if she'll ever listen to this.
Your chances have now hit a brick wall.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there was this magazine I read when I was a kid. She was, I think, 22 at the time.
What was the magazine? Teen Bop or something?
I don't fucking know.
Tiger
but she said that her favorite scent was vanilla. So that stuck in my head.
Did it really?
Yeah.
You are a creep.
Yeah, right? I remember her favorite
the way you said that, you're like her favorite scent
old.
Is like vanilla.
It's vanilla.
Okay, well, that's great.
That's how much I liked her.
She's totally creeped out right now. She's just turned off our podcast.
I hope she's listening to our podcast.
She said to hell with that. I'm going to watch Buffy. I'm watching Buffy.
We're not quite big enough yet, for celebrities
we're not quite engorged
to be listening.
As of yet.
I don't think. Maybe. No. I think that if they were listening, maybe they'd tweet us or something.
Tweet. Speaking of tweet, please, if you have the time,
spread the word.
Spread it like wildfire.
Spread it like one of these vampires' legs, because we're gonna get into the sexy vampire. Section.
We're getting into sexy vampire section.
This is probably where we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We're probably gonna go ahead and just discuss the sexy vampires. I hope that transition was good. I accidentally hit a button and then I had to go back in. So I think I just seamlessly did it, but now everybody knows that I...
Did you hit it?
I might have... Well, if it skips, that's why.
That should be fine.
Sexy vampires. So, you got your obvious ones, like your True Blood, which we're probably going to discuss more in the next episode because I think it's more campy.
Sure.
And a little cheesier. But... just the trope in general. Underworld.
Okay.
That is what Kate Beckinsale or whatever. She's
lovely.
in that skin tight suit.
Oh my goodness! Let me tell you. See,
those are like some of those hardcore sex scenes without nudity.
I actually a little known fact there for our fans out there. I went ahead and I went on the eBay there, Casey.
On the eBay.
On the eBay, and I purchased the actual suit that Kate wore in the film.
That is the creepiest thing I've ever heard.
I tried it on, and let me tell you, it was terrifying.
Did you smell the crotch?
I didn't. I couldn't even fit into a leg.
Well, you
Pant
use
leg.
your nose. You wouldn't smell the crotch.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think we just lost the listener. But here we are, getting the listener
Anyway,
back.
So, I mean, we kind of got into Underworld on the previous episode, but one of my favorite examples that really plays with this trope is Kiss of the Damned.
Okay.
Which is currently on Netflix.
Yes.
It's got the I forgot what his name is, but the guy from Heroes who has the kind of weird mouth thing that he does.
Oh gosh, what's his name?
I think he plays Peter Petrelli on Heroes, right?
He also played. I
don't know why that name sticks in my
Sylvester Stallone's son in Rocky Balboa, if I'm not mistaken.
So maybe okay,
yeah, the Italian kid, right? He's got kind of like got this face, and
probably
he's Italian.
so
you don't talk like this.
And the female lead in that
is she?
But anyway, it's an interesting take. He meets her at I think at a shitty movie rental place, and
That's kind of cool.
yeah, and then he stalks her.
He's just like,
Like he fucking stalks her.
goes
Like
into creep mode.
He goes to her house and he tries to get let in, and she's like, "No, this is not a good idea." And then he like goes back and he's like totally creeping on her, like,
Just
"You gotta, I'm not leaving
relentless.
till you let me in," kind of thing.
That's crazy.
And they like start kissing through the door, and then she bites him.
She bites him.
She bites him, which is a vampire. And then
he could have been her as well.
eventually he makes his way in, and they end up like getting sexual, and she's like, "You need to tie me down," and blah blah blah. And he's like, "You know,
Because
what's
she's
up?"
aware of the fact that,
She's a vampire. And then like she like shows her fangs, and she's expecting to get out. First of all, her version of showing her fangs is like, you just went from hot to like even hotter. I think her eyes get like blue or something.
Is that right?
And like she just gets super sexy when she vamps out.
So this is for the listeners out there. Listen, ladies, to the ladies in particular, okay? Casey, all right? This guy's a triple threat. The man is I'm not going to call him a layer cake. I'm going to go ahead and call him an onion there because he's got several layers. So anyway, listen, if you are listening to this right now, for only 5 easy payments of $67.95, you too can have dinner with Casey. And I'll tell you what, if you got fangs, well then come on down.
So you're calling me an onion because what? I'm round and I stink? Is that what you're trying to say? Calling me fat?
No, actually, because there are several layers to. You have depth. Yeah. The boy has depth.
Dude, I didn't know onions had depth. Anyway, so like he's like, instead of freaking out, he's like surprisingly into it, and then they like bang. But
they like bang.
They like bang. Okay. Like Facebook like, and then they bang.
Oh yes. Speaking of likes,
which I mean personally, I'd do it too. I mean,
what's
shit,
that?
I'd be totally into that.
There you go. There you have it.
It's a very sexualized rendition. And then it brings in something that's almost also tropic, which is the sister shows up, and they're trying to be civil and not murder a bunch of people. And it's really cool because they have a house that is built so they can actually like. There's a scene where they can look outside the windows during the day, but there's a scene where her and her sister are people watching. So they have like binoculars, and they're like watching like people play with their kids or something. And she kind of sees, like, she finds it fascinating to watch humans, and her sister just sees them as food, which ends up causing problems.
That's interesting.
But it's funny because there's also another movie that I think is also on Netflix.
What's that?
God, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's really good. It's pretty new. But the male vampire is a musician, and he's kind of becoming this like famous underground musician, and he like,
what genre of music is it?
Do you recall? I don't remember. But and then his lover, who lives in I believe the Middle East, But she's also an older vampire, and she comes to visit and this and that. But it's funny because I think they even like Skype and stuff like that in the movie, which is interesting.
Okay.
But it's a more serious film, but it's still it's just really interesting. It's very art house. But also in that movie, they're like her. I think it's his sister, but his like junky ass vampire sister shows up and starts fucking everything up too.
Wow.
Which is funny because like. I don't know why that's a thing, that the sister vampire is like a relentless addict
trashy.
asshole. Yeah, like a trashy little shit stain.
A trashy dame, if you will.
A trashy dame. But I would definitely give Kiss of the Damned a watch if you haven't seen it. It's also very gorgeous. It's very well shot.
Is it?
The colors are very nice. I think it's got a lot of blues.
For our listeners at home, where can they find this film? You said Netflix, correct?
Yeah, it's on Netflix still.
Okay.
It's definitely gone under the radar, and it's definitely something you're probably not going to hear about a lot other places.
But you will hear
about here. But which is funny because I was trying to look up the name of the movie again. I didn't have Netflix available at the time, and I was just Googling around, and I kept looking up like vampire movies on Netflix and like this and that, and top vampire movies on Netflix, this and that. And all of the articles that came up, it was all like, oh, the best vampire movies on Netflix right now. And they were all up to date.
Solid,
They
credible.
were like 2015 or top vampire movies that have come out in the last few years.
I see.
And it wasn't on any of the lists. And I was like, I had to actually like...
Doesn't that bother you?
I had to look up heroes, and then I had to look up that actor, and then I had to look up his filmography.
Okay.
I didn't even think about that. So like 20 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I could just look up the actor. No
You
shit.
IMDb. You basically IMDb'd him.
I did. I had to like IMDb his ass just to find the movie.
A shout out to IMDb, by the way. What a just a wonderful platform for all things film, TV. The whole thing.
I wish it worked a little better, but anyway.
So,
because it makes you on your phone now. It makes you go to the app, and you have to.
yeah, it does that, but I'll decline.
The app fucks up a lot.
I'll decline.
I try, but then it's just like it's really messy on the mobile versions. It's really the mobile version's messy.
So going back.
Anyway, so yeah, so check out that movie if you haven't seen it. Also, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is available on Netflix.
It is.
If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. You're gonna like it.
You're gonna love it.
I think Lost Boys is on Netflix still right now.
Lost Boys is not actually.
It was.
Well, it was at one point, but
they just removed it.
I believe as of about
Sorry,
a month
guys.
ago, perhaps.
Let the Right One In is on Netflix.
Indeed, it is.
It's been on Netflix for years.
I believe both renditions. If I'm
Let
not
Me In
mistaken.
too.
Yeah.
Okay. From Dusk Till Dawn, which we will be talking about
Yes.
next episode, is on Netflix.
It sure is.
I think all three of them are on Netflix.
Near Dark, however,
Not on Netflix.
not on Netflix.
It was on HBO for a while. Interview with the Vampire
Interview with the Vampire
on Netflix. Queen of the Damned
Yes.
on HBO Go.
Okay.
So if you have both, Underworld and I think one of the sequels
Is on Netflix. Oh, okay.
Stakeland is on
It
Netflix.
is it's on my queue.
And Fright Night.
Yes,
I think
indeed. The original
is
is
on
on
Netflix. Boom!
Boom,
Same
baby!
time. Same time. So we have just given you some ways to watch some shit.
Yes.
Look at us. Look at what we're doing for you. You know what you can do for us?
What's
you can
that?
follow us on Twitter. You can
Yep.
like us on Facebook, and you can share it like the genital warts you got from your ex-girlfriend.
Yikes. Or you can share it, perhaps like a wildfire.
Oh.
Spread it like wildfire.
Okay, you don't have to yell. Okay, so
Sorry.
I think we're coming up on the end.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close.
So,
here.
just so you guys know, we're going to be throwing to WOLF Action News. And then after that, we have a very special musical, I would say guest
Contribution.
but
It's a
contribution
guest,
on #Ghost Radio.
That's it.
By Versus Me. An American Tale is the name of the song. We were just trying to discuss the genre again earlier. It's almost kind of like we were saying it's like almost like a metalcore, but with like the electronica kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's
like the soaring vocals.
A different approach, but one that's certainly enjoyable.
Yeah, so I know you guys are going to love it. You're going to stick around. You're going to listen to it.
And if I may add to that, I'd like to go ahead and send a shout out to our good pal, Danny Price.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out.
For making that
to
happen,
them.
because that's huge, you know. So thank you for the support, Danny.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so here comes WOLF News. Stick around. Hello, and welcome to WOLF Action News. Welcome, and good evening. I am that thing in your closet that watches you sleep.
And I'm Eddie Haskell.
Here are tonight's top stories.
Witnesses have reported that a creature reminiscent to that of a predator, from feature film affairs such as Predator and Predator 2, was found on a seesaw at the Maggie Daley Park near Chicago's lakefront. Witnesses state that the creature didn't come across as an immediate threat. Ladies and gentlemen, that certainly isn't the state that said predator, can't attack at any given moment. It's best to steer clear from the park until further notice. More updates as they arise from the scene.
A sinkhole has appeared in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, more a series of sinkholes. The first one was spotted when Grace National Hospital was sucked completely into the ground. Everyone in the hospital, luckily, survived. I'm getting an update. It turns out everyone actually died. More on this as it develops.
This just in, witnesses in Brookfield, Illinois, have reported that a slew of fires, near the neighborhood of Lyons, Illinois. It's reported that a presence who calls himself the arsonist. Can you believe that? This guy walks around calling himself the arsonist. He's being hailed as the culprit. The individual that apparently left the phrase "MM lives," whatever the heck that means. That was seen in burning fashion, in a nearby forest. More on this story as it develops.
That is fascinating news. Moving along, paintings in a North Dakota gallery have started coming to life. Some of these paintings are well-known national paintings that are very well known to the public. Others are local artists. We here at WOLF Action News support local art, just not when it's coming to life and killing people. We ask that all of the artwork returns immediately to its paintings. Well, that is the top stories for tonight. WOLF Action News. The mayor has issued a statement that the bears surrounding the suburbs have returned. Keep your children indoors. Unless you need to run, then use your children to slow down the bears. Now remember, if it bleeds, it leads. Unless it bleeds too much, then it dies. Welcome back. I hope that episode of WOLF Action News was informative. And we're closing out the show for today, for this week.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. If you have made it this far, we owe you a hug, a pat on the back, and a knife in the stomach.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we show love around here.
I guess so.
Yeah. Anyway, so remember, next episode, next week, is going to be part 2 of the Vampire Month double feature.
Yes, it is a double feature indeed, Case. This installment. Look at that. Did you see that? What happened? This installment. I'm working on my Jamaican voice.
Okay.
Anyway, so next week's installment will involve a much lighter side of the genre. One that you could say is based on a more comedic comedic effect, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you get your cheese, you get your
You
comedy.
got your cheese, you got your
got
comedy,
your Gruyere,
you
got your brie.
tongue in cheek. I mean,
got your
all
cheddar.
that. You got all that good
You got
stuff.
cheddar.
I tell you what.
Make it rain if you got cheddar.
Well, if you
make
got
it cheese
I
rain.
tell you, I don't make it rain when I have cheddar.
It's like
I mean,
purple rain.
the thing about cheddar is that it just literally goes right through me, man.
Oh, yeah.
If you only knew cheddar. Anyway, so yeah, thanks for listening.
Gruyere rain.
Was that your rendition of Purple Rain?
Yeah, with Gruyere.
Ooh, okay.
Delicious. It goes well on burgers. Purple
And on
rain
crackers. On crackers.
Okay.
Yes.
So tune in next week. Like us on the Facebook.
Please.
Once again, we are at Gory Details HS. HS for the Twitter. On the Gory Details Horror Show at gmail.com. If you want to shoot us over a message, tell us how much you love the podcast.
Tell us to drop dead. I mean, it could be anything. Listen, another thing that we want to go ahead and mention, if you have suggestions, all right, topics that you'd like to hear on the show,
Shove them up your keister?
Ooh,
I used the word.
your keister, huh?
No, but seriously though,
Please
shoot us over a
share.
message.
Feel free to share that with us. This is why. I mean, it would be a pleasure. So if you got suggestions, just like I mentioned, whatever you got, throw it at us.
And if you love us, love us to death, please Patreon. Even $1 helps.
Every cent helps. I feel like we're one of those infomercials that save the children.
Yeah, that's
Those
what
are fine.
I was going to go for that with
Every
it.
dollar helps. We urge you to get off your couch and make a donation. Don't flip the channel. Don't turn this podcast off. I mean, for the love of all that is good on the face of this earth, we ask you to find the slightest inkling of kindness in your heart and donate.
Remember, the kids, they don't need
We
clean
do
wells.
it for the children. Let's
They don't.
be honest.
No. No, the kids, they don't need the clean wells. They don't need a goat. You don't need to save the animals. What you have to do, and what the kids need and what the animals need, is this podcast.
Oh.
This podcast will clean their water.
I'm gonna give it to you like this.
Will make you financially sustainable. Send us your money, and God will give you in return even more money. That's how that works, right? Evangelicals. That's how it works.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Do I sell them holy water? Do I have to send you holy water?
You had me sold.
Let's pretend I send you holy.
Let's just pretend.
I'll bless your tap.
Yes.
And you have holy tap water.
Actually, we'll send you a vampire kit. What's a vampire kit, Case?
What
does it include?
Garlic.
Okay,
some
garlic.
Holy water.
Yeah.
Wooden stake.
Sure.
And a cross.
And a lovely, lovely special edition copy of Near Dark.
Ah.
Hey, you know what?
I don't have a special edition copy of Near Dark, but
What's the next best thing?
The vampire kit.
Yes.
If you guys want to throw us money, I might just add that to Patreon.
There you are.
You might be able to actually get a vampire
lovely
kit.
segue.
Well, you know what? Send us, if you're willing to donate, send us over a message with how much you think it would be fair for a monthly because it's a monthly donation.
Yes.
For a monthly
no
donation,
contracts, obviously, so you don't have to commit to it. You
tell
can
us what you think would be fair
drop out
for
at
the
any
price of a vampire kit.
Yep.
And we might just go ahead and send you one.
You know what? You might get a vampire kit. All right. So anyway, thanks for listening. And hey, keep the horror genre alive. All right. Watch a horror flick tonight.
All right. So we're going to throw to this amazing track by Versus Me. Make sure you like them on Facebook. Check out their shows when they come to your town. This song is called An American Tale. Let's take it out.
Life lost a feeling of invincibility. There knows me to reach the stars without quitting. Nothing day after day, feeling venom with myself. And now I've got to forget.
Each second goes by, I feel my whole life taking away. Nothing left to waste, nothing left to fight. And I've gotta make